And wow, what a race that was. Sakhir Grand Prix. It may only ever exist for 1 year, but it was an absolute bombshell. As you can see, I'm wearing a Mexican shirt. There's a certain pink panther in the background. That is Sergio Perez. After 190 races, he is finally an F1 race winner. And 2020 is full of surprises. Pierre Gasly got his maiden win, and now Perez has two. And wow, what a race. But we got to also talk about George Russell. It was a fairy tale weekend for him. When me and Jack spoke about the last Grand Prix, we didn't even think George Russell would be in a black Mercedes going for the win. But sadly, a tyre puncture ended all that. But he did finish ninth, and that means he did get his first ever points in his Formula One career. Jack, what a race. I mean, I said last week that because Hamilton isn't racing this weekend, it could open things up. And my God, was it open.
Yeah, it was a fantastic race, I have to agree. Like, it had so much. I mean, I think it was the case that the lap was so short. Like, the laps were flying by. I know sometimes we go, we have races where we're thinking, Christ, it's only 20 laps in, and and nothing's really happening. But this one, the laps were just going so fast because it's like 55 seconds around the circuit, and that's the lap done. Even though they put it to 87 laps, it still felt like it was going quite quickly. And I think the drivers sort of enjoyed it because, it's gone in sort of a bit of a blur. So, George Russell had a great sort of start to the weekend and, got in the car, looked comfortable. I think the only issue he had was like free practice free, where he was trying a few other different things and they weren't working. But, great to get into P2 in qualifying, only so many, is it like less than 0.02 of a second from Bottas or something like that, something stupid and minor. Great result, to have a 1-2 and without Lewis Hamilton there. And again, I think sort of dominated the race. He overtook Bottas on the first lap, really, and looked in control, even with safety cars and virtual safety cars or whatever. He was still sort of keeping the pace and looked in control. And then they decided to come in when the other safety car. It came actually on the television. I think one of the commentators said it, and they were spot on. It was like his own car that he's given, like they've given to Jack Aitken this weekend, just gone, sort of screwed him over because that was what caused the safety car for Mercedes to decide to bring them both in. So if Jack Aitken hadn't crashed George Russell's Williams, he may not have had these pit stop blunders. But I don't know what was going on with Mercedes, but it makes me laugh that it never happens when Lewis Hamilton's there. Like, I know it's coincidence, of course it's coincidence, but I just find it like it was mind-boggling how they'd screwed both Russell and Bottas. I mean, I know loads of people are going to go on Russell and not going to really talk about Bottas, but how annoying is it if you're a driver, you come in, you have to wait longer because you're doing a double stack, and then when you finally get to go into pits, they take the old tyres off, bugger about a bit, and then decide to put the old tyres that you've just taken off back on, and you have to finish the race on them. I was like, honestly, if you can hear Bottas's radio, I think it's on YouTube somewhere, because they didn't publish it on when the race was going on. But he just was a bit like swearing after it. And he's like, "What the F's going on? Like, what the F are we doing? Like, why have I still got these tyres on?" And it was just an absolute blunder. And then obviously to make matters worse for George Russell, decides that there's a puncture on his new tyres as well. So, great weekend for him. I think as a driver, it was just that maybe the team cost him obviously victory because he looked in control in the first half of the race.
I mean, we'll talk more as well about all that. I mean, this is crazy to think that pretty much for 13, 14 years, it was the first race without Lewis Hamilton, and we definitely got a glimpse of the future, of one day George Russell being in Mercedes. I have no doubt. Toto Wolff said a boy was born over the weekend, and completely agree with him. And but Jack, we got to talk about Perez, man. It's finally fucking happened. As I said, 190 races, and he's got it. I must admit, I was never expecting him to win an F1 race. I mean, I said to myself last night, when I actually had a few tears in my eyes when he won, I actually said, if this is to be it, if this is his F1 career finishing this year, fuck it, he's done it. He can actually say he's won a race. I mean, what did you think about all that?
Oh, I just thought it was like I wasn't even paying attention to who was in the top three because of the thing that was going on with the two Mercedes and sort of screwing up. I wasn't even looking at who was actually taking the places off Bottas and Russell. So it was only after they'd sort of calmed down with that situation, I looked at the screen and I was like, Perez, Ocon, Stroll. What the? It's just like, what's going on? And I mean, Perez only led 2 laps ever in his previous sort of 6 years of F1. Only done like only led 2 laps of his career, and then goes on to win a race. Absolutely phenomenal. But we've said this all year, and obviously you've said this throughout his career, JP. We know, but like throughout this whole season, he's been immense. Like tyre management is perfect. He was back of the queue on lap 1 with the incident with Leclerc and Verstappen, right at the back of the queue.
Which feels like a long time ago now.
Yeah, completely. And then obviously goes on to win the race. I mean, not only that, but getting Stroll in third as well, racing point sort of both cars on the podium, hasn't been done since they were in the Jordan days. So a huge achievement by the team, and everybody looks so happy in that team for Checo. Like they're all cheering his name. They're all, they look so happy for him. And obviously, again, he was delighted. And like you said, if it's his last, or that was his second to last race, and obviously the last one this week coming in Abu Dhabi, what a way to go. Like at least he can say he's a Grand Prix winner. He's in that select club now. And he's done, an absolute immense job. And you look at the way that Christian Horner was shaking his head after Albon's qualifying session, and I know he did okay to finish 6th in the end, but I don't want to throw away a young driver because that's unfair, and I think he's obviously still got a future in F1. But I just think, like, Perez is available, and you look what he's been doing this season, and to lose that talent, is just it's sad really for the F1 sort of community, and obviously the paddock that get to see him, week in, week out. So, yeah, absolutely amazing job. But I know you've asked me the question, but obviously you are a huge Sergio Perez fan, so obviously people need to know. You've already said you were emotional at the win and the checkered flag. What did it feel like? Because you've been a huge supporter of Perez. We know that since he came in.
Yeah, I mean, I remember 2011 when he came in for Sauber with, I think it was De La Rosa to start off with, or it was Kobayashi afterwards, either way. And I just remember in 2012, that Malaysia race, where he nailed it on the wets. His tyre management was then. That's when it was discovered. I think that's when people learned that Perez had a good drive in him, but the car was awesome. And I just remember he led, but then Alonso overtook him with no real difficulty. But that was a surprise because Ferrari had a shit testing that year, and no one expected Ferrari to even win a race, let alone win 4 that year, which was crazy. But I just remember Perez was right behind him again with about 5-10 laps to go. And it's like, Perez is going to do it. He's going to overtake Alonso. And then what happened? He goes off on that corner and it's like, oh, no. And he finished second. But it's all forgotten now. It's like, that's all gone.
Yeah.
I think as well for what happened with him at McLaren, he got unfairly done. David Coulthard said last night that, that's McLaren for you. If they have a bad car or a bad season, they cut people off. And it's like, yeah, it's a shame that it had to be Perez because Button didn't have a great year either with his car, but the car was shit. You may as well drive a Big Mac car. It'd be faster than that. So, yeah, it was a sad year. But the fact that Perez has won more races than McLaren since he left is hilarious. So I'll take that. Very happy. Yeah. But no, when he crossed the finish line, I couldn't believe it. I literally didn't know what to say. I was just like, he's fucking done it. It's like this was never supposed to happen. So, yeah, as you said, though, I think for the team it's great because the last 2 years for them has literally been up, down, up, down, up, down. It's like...
And he was vital in that, in saving the team as well. Because that's what, so to see the team being so happy for him to get that win as well, and I think especially knowing that it's his second to last race, possibly, obviously in the team, but in F1 as well, to see him sort of cross the line and take that Mexican flag up onto the podium, was just very emotional. I thought as a team, and I think as a paddock as well. I mean, a fair dues to Sergio Perez because of Lawrence Stroll obviously going to congratulate him, and you think maybe there's some like ill feelings there with the fact that he's being kicked out, but no, he's over there and saying thank you very much, and being congratulated, and Stroll and both him and Stroll are look like they're being sort of nice to each other, and that looked good because it just shows how Perez has sort of said, I've moved on from that now. I'm just wanting to enjoy these last few races I have in the sport, and to get a win is absolutely incredible. So yeah, fair dues to him. And I know, you said you are this is probably the best season in a while for you, with the fact that obviously Perez is now topping off the season with a win.
He's fourth. I mean, he's fourth with
Yeah.
one race to go. I mean, he's had 2 races not competing.
Yep.
Sadly, what happened with him and Bahrain last weekend could have sealed 4th place before the last race, sadly, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, 4th in his last season, and Natalie Pinkham interviewed him afterwards and said, but this is like the peak of your career right now. This is your best season. And he just goes, we'll see what happens. And it's like, he seems so confident that he's got options for 2022. And he didn't seem too fussed about next year. He did seem a bit like, look, it's out of my hands. Whatever happens with Red Bull, I haven't heard anything yet. So, but what we do know is that Red Bull have basically confirmed that they're not going to do anything till the end of the year. But yes, Albon, well, if Perez won again next weekend, oh my God, that'd be amazing.
He
would really, yeah, he's got to stay somehow. But we'll see what happens. But the Lawrence Stroll moment was interesting because Lawrence Stroll spoke to Sky Sports afterwards, and he said they asked him how vital has Perez been to the team, and he literally just goes, he's been incredible. He saved the team before I bought them, and then he goes on and said, him and the whole group, we've tried to make sure the whole group have stayed together. And I'm like, well, you haven't, because you let Vettel in. But it's quite interesting, Racing Point as a whole, that even Lawrence Stroll said the reason why I bought the team was they were a good team. It just needed some more money in it. And as they've done, they've bought every car part and not actually spared any money. And I think they deserve a huge credit, the whole team. Especially Lance Stroll as well. Lance Stroll did a great drive yesterday, I thought. And Esteban Ocon, let's talk about him. His first ever podium, Jack. And despite the hard feelings Ocon and Perez have had, it was nice to see them both together.
Yeah, I mean, he sort of went under the radar a little bit with the fact of obviously the Russell debacle and Perez winning and obviously being a 1-3 sort of a Racing Point. It was sort of like, and there's a Renault up there. And it was sort of strange, but it made me laugh because they were all like cheering Checo and Perez and everything that was going on. But all the Renaults were just like, yeah, all right, P2, yeah. None of them were really like super happy. And you thought like, Ocon, French driver, French team, you think they would have, he's the driver that they're keeping next season. So Ricciardo's going. So you thought they would have been like even more like ecstatic, but
and Alonso was there to shake his hand.
Yeah, and he's just like, oh, you don't look really that happy, but yeah, I mean, took his first F1 podium, 23rd. I can see a 23rd Frenchman to finish on the top 3, and I think that's what Ocon needed. I think he's sort of been okay, but it sort of dipped under. Like Daniel Ricciardo's outperformed him really this season, and obviously with Renault, like I said, they're keeping Ocon, and obviously Alonso's joining next year. They needed Ocon to step up a bit more with him staying and needing to show his sort of qualities, and obviously getting a podium in the second to last race of the season surely is only going to help the confidence. And Renault look like they've got a decent car and a decent engine if they can keep that going. I mean, we've been waiting ages to have a Renault in the mix, and it just takes them to maybe have the luck of two Mercedes having issues and like you said, Lewis Hamilton not being in the frame, that these other drivers are able to go on there. I mean, I think it's like they said, it was the second time this season that we've had no previous race winners on the podium, because obviously we had Monza, didn't we, where Gasly won. So we've had this again where something else has happened, where it's not just always the same race winners of maybe Bottas, Hamilton and Verstappen. And obviously this is what we want to see. We want to see different people on the podium. So yeah, fantastic job for Esteban Ocon, but I think that whole top 3 fully deserved to be on that podium. I think Carlos Sainz was unlucky again to sort of just miss out. He missed out, on the win in Monza, and he just missed out on the podium this weekend as well. So, obviously unlucky for him. But, like I said, it's fully deserved to see them lot on the podium as well. But, although George Russell did get his points, it was unlucky for him that in his first start at Mercedes, he didn't get a win or a podium finish. But look, if we go back to Russell, he showed his qualities this weekend, and he showed what he can do in the driver's seat at Mercedes. I think Mark Webber put on a post today that he deserves to be in the seat for next year, really. But, we'll see. Bottas has obviously signed on for it, so I don't see any movement being there.
Hamilton hasn't signed, but he hasn't signed it.
Yeah, he hasn't signed. Wouldn't that be a curveball? Like Bottas Russell next season by Hamilton. I tell you what, Mercedes would save a lot of money next season if they brought Russell in instead of Hamilton. But
they would.
Look, like I said, I think he's shown his qualities, and sort of breezing past Bottas in the first lap and taking the first place. I think obviously Bottas had issues as well, like I mentioned, but I think Russell looked like he controlled the race really. So unlucky to him obviously, and you can see the emotions after the race. But if he does get that opportunity this weekend coming in Abu Dhabi, then hopefully he can keep the sort of performance he put in up, and the mistakes from Mercedes don't happen again, because like we said, they're usually bulletproof. But I did think it was funny that that's the weekend that they chose to have the Netflix documentary series there.
I know.
It's always when the time before that it was Germany, wasn't it?
It was Germany, oh no.
So really what they should say is every time Netflix go, can we have this weekend? It'd be like, nope, we're not having you. We're not having you. Yeah, we're not having you.
Oh, I hope they had Racing Point for a bit that weekend as well.
Yeah.
But no, amazing. I mean, Sakhir, I actually think Sakhir might be better than the Bahrain circuit.
No, I agree, yeah.
Yeah, I think I like the idea of 56 seconds a lap or something like that, which is the quickest ever F1 lap record in history over the weekend. And I guess as well I mean, where do you see it now with Russell and the Red Bull situation? Because, I mean, actually, I'll ask you, Hamilton, I mean, he's done it now, hasn't he? He's got the 7 World Championships. Next year, he's got to do it again, because I think he's got every chance of beating the record of getting 8. And that, I've said it before, I think once he's got that, what's there to fight for? You've done it, really. You've set the new benchmark. But I just thought the racing was just so much better without him. No disrespect to Hamilton, but it just shows how good he is. The moment he's gone, the race it was anyone's.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think it does highlight, I know if people watch these videos regularly, they know that both of us respect Lewis Hamilton, but we agree that, we'd like to see something different. And obviously we respect the achievements he's made, and 7-time world champion, equaling Michael Schumacher, unbelievable. Like you said, he will be there next season, no doubt. And, he probably will win it and be the all-time record in terms of drivers' championships. And I agree with what you said. Does he need to go on? Does he? All he's going to be doing then is just extending the lead in the drivers' championships. Does he need to do that? Well, he might, but it's not something major. We already know he's branching out into different areas of what he wants to do after he's retired from Formula One. So, I agree. It might be his last sort of season next year, and it does open it up then, because you look at what this race weekend was. Like you said, it's the first time since 2006, 2007 that Lewis Hamilton hasn't been on the grid and hasn't
a long time
been in a race weekend. Yeah. So, and it was enjoyable. Whether it was because it was a new circuit again, and like you said, it was short, so qualifying was a bit of a mess. Traffic was like, they're all getting like, oh God, we need to push up, otherwise we're not going to get round. And so, maybe it was a number of factors, but I still feel like it was enjoyable to watch, knowing it wasn't going to be dominated by Hamilton, because normally it's the case where Mercedes as a team are bulletproof and they do 2 seconds pit stops and he's straight back out again and he's leading and he's tyre management, he's in control. Whereas this weekend, you've got Bottas wanting to try and prove a point, Russell again wanting to try and prove a point, but on 2 different sides of that. And then, you've obviously got like I said, the debacle of what happened at Mercedes themselves in terms of the pit stops. So, it did throw everything up in the air. And again, we had a great race weekend on different winners. So I think it will be better racing when Hamilton's not there. But I agree with you in the sense of that just shows how good of a driver and how good of a fit him and Mercedes are together, that it just is, unbelievably dominant with the pair of them.
And finally, Jack, how good was that Russell overtake on Bottas? Oh,
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm still a Bottas fan, so I will say he was on crap tyres. They'd just come back. They'd been taken away. He'd done 20 or something laps on them. They'd been taken away, put back on. Temperature was crap.
Yeah.
Like, they'd just come straight back on. So, you can sort of say as a Bottas fan, oh, his tyres weren't warm. His tyres weren't warm. And obviously Russell was going around on a softer compound as well. But around the outside and committing to that move as well around the outside. He could have waited maybe on DRS on the straight, but he decided, no, I'm going to commit to go around the outside and take the corner and make it my corner. Just showed what a great driver he was, and he was constantly on the radio. And that was another thing as well. It wasn't his usual engineer; it was Lewis Hamilton's. And again, I think that was a great relationship. Them two worked well together. Considering they hadn't really known each other, but only a couple of days beforehand. They work really well as a team. And, I think, again, it just highlights what a quality driver Russell is. And it's a shame that Williams aren't. They've obviously improved. And, we have to say that. They have improved to what they were last year.
Yeah.
But to have somebody as good as that at the back of the grid. I mean, Latifi's okay, but he's normally at the back anyway, isn't he?
Rich parents.
Yeah. But, he's an okay driver, but he does just sit around the back usually. But George Russell in that Williams this year, puts it as far as he can, throws everything at it. Qualifying's always good from him. And it's just a shame that he's going to be back there next season at the start of 2022, or 2021, sorry. And he's going to be at the back of the grid again in a Williams. Hopefully it might make more ground again over winter. But he's not going to be fighting at the top where maybe he should be. I mean, you think of a young driver like him, you've got the likes of Verstappen, you've got Alonso coming back, you've got Vettel maybe in the racing point, you've got Bottas and Hamilton up there. Yeah. I mean, throwing Russell in the mix as well would be, it would be great because he's shown again, he has shown his qualities. But, I think, time will tell. But, 100% he's in that seat for 2022, I think. Whether that means Hamilton retires or they kick Bottas out.
I feel sorry for Russell knowing that next year, if he does have to do another 23 races at least in that Williams car, he's going to just think this is going to be the longest 12 months of my life, but it'll be worth it. I'm sure the wait will be worth it. So congratulations.
Obviously, if he wins this weekend in Abu Dhabi, he might just think, oh, well, I've got a year, but at least I've won a race. And that's a possibility if obviously Hamilton doesn't, get in the paddock this weekend. And then just quickly, commiserations, obviously, that Romain Grosjean won't be finishing his career now in Formula One. He's obviously had to pull out of Abu Dhabi. So, and that was his last race. I know Mercedes put like a jokey thing out that they'd obviously give him a last test if he wanted to have another go in a Formula One car if nobody else wanted to. But obviously, it's a bit of a shame that, Romain sort of ended with that crash in Bahrain. But, medics have told him that it's probably not best for him to finish the season. So you've got to take the medics' advice, really. So, but congratulations to Romain Grosjean, really, because, he has had, as much as obviously he hasn't got to the front as much as we'd like.
10 podiums.
He has done a great job in his F1 career. And obviously, he's been one of the drivers. He has been the first driver to race with Haas. And he's pushed that team forward. So he's done a great job really in the sport of F1, and he will be missed. As much as people have a laugh and joke, and we sometimes do it every week about Romain Grosjean and things he does. He has been a key role in the sport for a number of years. So.
I think as well for George Russell, when we go back to him, I think we'll have that story from Toto Wolff again to go, can we have 3 cars per team next year?
Well,
just like his Esteban.
Racing Point will want that as well because they can put Perez back in.
Brilliant. Well, anyway, congratulations to Perez. You have finally made the F1 Winners Club. Thank God. Thank goodness. Viva Mexico, as I would say.